Good evening, everyone. I think we're all just about seated. And just to let these people know, there's a few seats left. I want to turn it out. Thank you so much for coming. I'm Debbie Lely. I'm Festival Director of Melbourne Jewish Book Week, and it's a great honour to be here tonight. I'd like to commence by respectfully acknowledging the Wurundjeri and Bunurong people of the Kulin Nation, the traditional owners of the land on which we are based, and I pay my respects to their elders past and present. What an honour to be here as part of the groundswell of support that Rami and Bassam, that their Peacebuilding tour has amassed. Thank you to PLUS61J for having the vision and persistence and hosting this groundbreaking tour, and finally persevering with the visas that I think only just came through. Thank you to the Wheeler Centre for giving us the green light to proceed with this event when their own event sold out within days. Thank you to the King David School for so generously swinging into gear and opening up your doors to this amazing venue. And thank you to all of you who have come out in the middle of winter on a cold night with just a few days' notice to be here, to witness and to hear this message of hope from two fathers born into opposing sides of an age-old conflict, yet that were profoundly united in grief and in purpose. I would also like to note that tonight's event is something akin to Melbourne Jewish Book Week's school program to be held on 1st of August this year with its theme of resilience. The keynote address will be held in this very hall, and again we thank King David School for their generosity and support. We are also incredibly grateful to the Gandil Foundation as our donor and benefactor that has sustained the running of the school program across 5 events to date. Just before we cut to the session proper, we did want to share with you a prequel to the event in the form of an interview conducted by the late Mark Baker and award-winning author Colum McCann. The full video is available on the Melbourne Jewish Book Week website. The discussion revolves around Colum's novel, Apeirogon, inspired by and based on Rami and Bassam's story. How such a story touched the heart of a writer in Ireland is a testament to the universality of the deed and the growing yearning for peace.
I sat down to chat with them, and within half an hour, everything had changed for me. I say that my heart was cleaved open, and it really was cleaved open. I listened to these stories of these two men, Rami Elhanan and Bassam Aramin, and I knew at that stage that their story would influence me, but I didn't know that I was going to write about them. What right do I have? What do I know? I also was well aware that it was going to be a very, very difficult novel to write. I wanted to say that you're involved in the shape, like all the people who are here, they are involved in the shape of the story of Rami and Bassam. We can be complicit in it, we can be empathetic with it, we can be sympathetic to it, but no matter what, we are all sort of involved in the shape. I didn't have a whole lot of skin in the game when it comes to writing about Israel and Palestine. I mean, I'm not Jewish, and I'm not I'm not from a Palestinian background. I am from a Christian background, but when I went in there, it wasn't as if I had a particular purpose to say what was right and what was wrong. I leave that to Rami and Bassam, and they talk about what is right and what is wrong.
And following that, we are going to watch a prelude or a trailer for the documentary The Narrow Bridge that is premiering on Sunday evening at the Classic Cinema, featuring Rami and Bassam, amongst other families, both Israeli and Palestinian, who have lost loved ones, and building a bridge of peace and reconciliation. After that, before we go to that, Deborah Stone, Editor-in-Chief of PLUS61J and formerly a journalist with The Age and editor of the Australian Jewish News and Arts Hub, will be leading the discussion with his two amazing fathers, Rami Elhanan, a 7th-generation Jerusalemite, and Bassam Aramin, a Palestinian who at the age of 17 was imprisoned in Israel for 7 years, yet after his release co-founded Combatants for Peace. Thank you.
خلفت أول واحد بكر محمود، طبعاً أول واحد من أولادي. كانت حياتنا بسيطة وحلوة.
My daughter Smadar was an absolutely amazing, vivid, sparkling little girl.
אני הייתי בת של אבא. הוא לימד אותי לעשות הכל.
Your kids, your wife, your family become your homeland.
You started running in the streets, trying to find her, and you go from hospital to hospital.
It's a copy. It's a mirror. We want to kill each other to achieve peace and security.
لما جدي محمود راح هيك يعني كل شيء طلع مني.
תקפו אותו בגרזנים, רצחו אותו כמתנה לחמאס. צריך כל כך לשנוא כדי לעשות משהו כזה.
Wow.
Good evening. It's great to be back at the PLUS school. I'm the ex-parent, and it's really nice to be here. And it's absolutely wonderful that the Northern Jewish Book Week has been able to spring into action and has started this evening. We at PLUS61J Media are tremendously proud and grateful to have Rami and Bassam here. For those of you who don't know what we do, we're a platform to diverse voices on issues of interest to the Jewish community, about Israel, about Australia, and about the Jewish world. If you don't already subscribe to our free weekly bulletins, please, bi-weekly bulletins I should say, please go onto our website now and subscribe. It's free, and while you're there, turn your phone off so that we don't have sounds Jewy can say Rami and Bassam are extraordinary people who bring in hope. And as an editor, I spend a lot of time looking at the stories that come out of Israel and the Palestinian territories that might bring us in hope. It's very easy, unfortunately, to find stories that do the opposite. It's usual in these kinds of settings to do a little introductory blurring about the people who you taught me to. I'm not going to do that because Rami and Bassam are experts in their own stories and nobody tells it better than them. So I'm just going to start by asking both of you to tell us who you are and why you're here.
You told me that you want to start it. But she was looking at you.
Shut up.
I'm Rami Hanan. I'm 33 years old, graphic designer living in Jerusalem. Born in Jerusalem, 7th generation. My mother was born in the old city of Jerusalem, an ultra-Orthodox Jewish family. My father came to Israel in 1946 after spending 1 year in Auschwitz. He was very badly wounded in the 48 war. She was the nurse that took care of him. I guess it's the reason why he.
And I'm Palestinian. I spent 7 years in the Israeli jails when I was 17 years old. I'm a father of 6 kids. I have a master's degree about the Holocaust. And I was one of the co-founders of a group called Combatants for Peace from ex-Israeli soldiers and others who refused to serve in the occupied territories with ex-Palestinian freedom fighters or its prisoners in 2005. In 2007, I lost my 10 years old daughter Abir to an Israeli border police in front of their school. In fact, we are both here to spread the message that we can use our pain in that country, not only our religion, that we need to talk to each other, to love each other. That doesn't say to accept each other, just to try to listen to each other. because both of us have the right to exist, and in our case, we have no other place. We need to exist in this land. I mean that land. We can live in one state, or 2 states, or 5 states. Otherwise, we will share the same land as tropical grapes, our kids, our families, and our people. For that, we are here.
Bassam, you started as a fighter for the Palestinian people, and you are now a fighter for peace. Tell me how you came to make that journey.
Yes, I was a big fighter of the Palestinian side, and my contribution to the Palestinian national struggle was raising the Palestinian flag at the aim of 30 with other poor kids on the trees around our school, because it was a camp that died. And we don't understand why the Israeli soldiers hate this flag. So we create a movement with hot kids, and our goal was to raise the flag to make them crazy. This is how we start to be a fighter. Later on, we find some weapons, we don't know how to use them, including 2 grenades. And 2 of my friends throw the 2 grenades on the Israeli soldiers on patrols in our village near Hebron. And of course, in that time, no one killed, no one injured, because they don't know how to use it. So for that, I get 7 years. So my contribution is to spend 7 years in jail. This is why the Palestinians consider me a fighter. When the Israelis and the Americans consider me a terrorist or ex-terrorist, whatever. But what I want to say that we are fighting to achieve peace. This is how we learn why we fight. If you fight without knowing why, you are a terrorist, you are a killer. So we fight to achieve freedom and justice to our people and the occupation. And I believe when we start to talk that it's very difficult to talk, it's more easy to fight. Everyone ready to fight, but not everyone ready to talk. And I discovered that in 2005, when we have the first meeting between the 7 ex-Israeli officers, Rami's son was one of them, with 4 Palestinian ex-prisoners. I was one of them. It was the most difficult meeting in my life. For the first time, you are going to meet your killer, your occupier, your jailer. And for them, it's the first time they're coming to meet their terrorists without weapons, without tanks. It was very scary. And we discovered that it's very difficult to talk. And always I said, it's a disaster to discover the humanity and nobility of your enemy. So he's not your enemy anymore. We need to talk on the personal level to discover the humanity in each other, which sometimes take decades to discover that your enemy is exactly like you. When I hear the stories, when I discover the Israeli society, and find the humanity the other side, I rediscover my own humanity. Why we are fighting, why we are killing each other. About land, we will meet each other under the ground, and the land continue to exist. Let us try to exist together without killing each other.
What happened to you in prison or after prison that made you willing to take that step to go and meet with Israelis?
In fact, in prison, we just hate each other. They are our enemies, and we are their enemies. But I watch a movie about the Holocaust in jail, and for me, the Holocaust does not exist. We never learn anything about it. We never hear anything about it. It's the opposite. I know that someone called Hitler. I don't know this Hitler, who killed 6 million Jewish people, but it's a big lie. Briefly, I never think about it because I'm not a Jew, and for me it's a big lie. It's the opposite. You don't want to recognize that your enemy is suffering, that he has pain. When I discovered that we are paying the price of this Holocaust, we become the victim of a crime that we never committed. Then after I studied, in fact, I feel kind of shame because I don't know anything about this event without any connection with the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. But still, you know, it's very difficult not to make the connections between those victims and their sons and daughters, I mean the Israelis. The first turning point, I cannot say in this point exactly, but one of them, I watched the TV after Oslo Agreement, the Israeli soldiers, before they leave Jenin, the Palestinian kids, they go over the jeeps and they give them flowers. And I said to myself, we are crazy people. We go to give them flowers instead of to throw stones. Then I understand that even after this suffering, just leave us alone and go home. It was a big message for me. When I met the combatants for peace, the Israeli soldiers who practiced the occupation, they are the tools of the occupation to discover how they grow up, how they understand, how they receive me. It made me change my opinion.
And what about you, Rami? What brought you to Combatants for Peace?
My son Eric, who served in the Israeli Special Forces, later on became a refusnik, and he initiated this meeting with Bassam. When me and my wife were standing by the cradle of this noble movement, with a lot of pride with our son and the fruit of his education. And then we met Bassam, who fell in love with whom? And we fell in love with each other, and we visited them in their house in Anata. You cannot even begin to imagine what it was for us back then in 2005 to drive to Anata. It's 20 minutes from our house in Jerusalem, and 20 million years of light. Once you cross a certain point, the sewage in the streets, the traffic, no garbage is being taken away. It's really, and you believe that under every rock there is a terrorist waiting to kill. So we came to their house, they came to our house, and we became very, very close. And then 2 years later, I got a telephone call telling me that Abir was hit by a bullet, and me and my wife drove to the Hadassah hospital in Ankara, and we spent 2 days by the bed. And for me, it was like losing my daughter for the second time.
At that point, when Abir died, did you have separate thoughts about the path you were on fighting for peace? You'd already been through the loss of Smadar, but to go through, as you say, all over again, and for you to go through your daughter's death, did you start thinking maybe there's just one word, maybe we can't work for peace?
Jalaluddin always says, yesterday I was clever, so I start to change the world. Today I am wise, so I start to change myself. In fact, what happened that I already was in another case. So from the beginning, even before my daughter died, she was in a very critical situation. And I said, if the war is happening, I wish Abir will be the last victim between the Israelis and the Palestinians. We need to double our efforts to achieve peace, especially now, because personally I have another 5 kids. I want to protect them. They are my hope, they are my God. But I'm not going to give up. I will follow those killers in the code even after 100 years. This is what I said. And I said that, but unfortunately the Israelis will close the file, and they would say because lack of evidence. 2 days later, my daughter passed away. After 4.5 years, the decision of the Israeli Supreme Court was the mother has the right to know the killer of her daughter. But because it's 4.5 years, and because lack of evidence, we closed the file. It's a very typical Israeli answer. We know it in advance before we died. So it's very difficult to ask for justice under the occupation. And in spite of that, as I said, I was already in a different place, so I met the victim who killed my daughter after 3.5 years. And I said to him, you are not our hero and you are not our one. You didn't kill the enemy or the terrorist, you just killed 10 years as a kid. And if you are proud of what you did, you can enjoy your time. I don't ask for revenge because I don't take revenge from victims. For me, you are not less victim than your victim. But in any day in your life, if you come to ask me to forgive you, always you will find me there. But it's not because of your sin. It's because I discovered that I love my daughter very much. And because I have another 5 kids, I don't want them to grow up as victims to you. Because I believe that he's not a serial killer. When I say a victim, it doesn't say that he's innocent, but he's a real victim to his couching, to his occupation, to his environment. We are born victims of this occupation. We are paying the price of this occupation. So I don't think that I think about revenge because I already have no enemies. I make peace with myself and no one can occupy me.
How did this man respond when you said to him that he was also a victim?
He didn't never expect to hear something like this from a terrorist. I already terrorists in advance. So I met him again after 2 months, and already he was another human being. He cannot look at me. Simply he understands that he killed 10 years old. He cannot justify that because killing kids is unjustifiable under any circumstances. And in fact, we were in a process to meet each other, but it was very difficult because we go through a legal process. It's forbidden for him, but he's not ready yet, imagine. Because the state said, it's not us, we are not responsible. So we cannot come against the state to say, yes, I should help. But for me, this was my revenge, to understand that he can clean his own. That's it.
Rami, when Smadar died, did you go through a period with wanting revenge before you were able to come and become involved in Combatants for Peace and the parents Safeway?
Smadar was killed in the 4th of September 1997. It was the first day of school. She was coming down the Midrachot Ben Yehuda to buy some new books for the new year. And 2 Palestinian suicide bombers blew themselves up and killed 5 people, between them the 3 little girls, 14 years old. And the initial reaction is deep anger. I don't know about revenge, but I was very, very angry, and I didn't know what I'm angry about. I was angry about the whole world. I'm a traumatized soldier from the October 72 war, the Yom Kippur War. Until today, I wake up with cold sweat from memories, and the outcome of it is that I became very cynical and very detached person with no connection to anything. I was doing graphic design for the right wing, for the left wing, whoever paid me, and I was really far away from. But the anger built an energy inside me. It's I always say it's an atomic nuclear energy. And the only question is, what do you do with it? And my luck is that I met Mr. Yitzhak Frankenthal a year after my tragedy. And he invited me to watch a meeting of this group of crazy people, the Parent Circle. And this meeting have changed my life completely. You want me to tell you about the meeting?
Yes, please.
I'm a victim of the Israeli upbringing education. This guy was hidden for me all my life. Not only him as a person, but his culture, his language, his history, his narrative, his music, his food, everything. And about a year after I lost my daughter, and I went to participate in the meeting of the parent circle. I did it reluctantly. I did it, I was a little bit curious, but that's all. And I was standing there watching them coming down from the buses, people that I never ever saw. I was 47 years old at the time, and every time I say it, I feel ashamed that it was the first time ever in my life I've ever met Palestinians as human beings, not as workers in the streets, not as terrorists, and not as transparent people, human beings who carry the same burden that I carry, who suffer like I suffer. And this meeting rocked the bulk of my life, and it has a tremendous effect on me. I remember seeing this old Arab lady coming down from the bus with this long black traditional Palestinian dress, and she had a picture of a 6-year-old kid on her chest, exactly like my wife carried the name of our daughter Smadar on hers. So it was an earthquake for me. And ever since then, I devote my life to go everywhere possible and talk to anyone possible, people who want to listen, people who will not listen, to convey this very basic and simple message which says we are not doomed. It's not our destiny to keep on killing each other and disowning and arouse. And we can change it. And we must be able to change it simply by talking to one another. It will not change, and it will not stop unless we talk.
One of the achievements of the Parents Circle is the joint Yom HaZikaron, the Remembrance Day service that you hold every year, and that has grown. I believe this year there were 15,000 people involved. Tragic, of course, that there should be so many bereaved parents, but there are many more bereaved parents who do not respond in this way and who are not yet involved in this kind of reconciliation. What do you think it is in a person's upbringing or personality that makes it possible for them to respond in this way rather than with bitterness or anger?
The alternative memorial ceremony started 18 years ago. It's an initiative of a bereaved father from the Parent Circle with the Combatants for Peace. At the first ceremony, there were 200 people in the Tmuna Theater in Vodi. And people were sitting on the stairs, and it was very crowded. And we started a process that was really criticized. A lot of controversy, by both sides. The Palestinians told us, are you going to remember the soldiers who killed us? And the Israelis told us, are you going to remember those who blew us up in the Bassam? And we said, no, we are remembering the victims of this situation. And each and every year we had to cross this bridge of anger, of hatred, of misunderstanding, and every year it doubled itself. More and more and more. The last event 2 weeks ago, there were 15,000 people in the audience and more than 300,000 people watching it over the internet. Each and every year we have to fight the government, the Minister of Defense, which is not allowing the Palestinians to participate in this, and we go to the Supreme Court, which from year to year allows it until they will change the judges of the Supreme Court, maybe next year. And this is an ongoing struggle. And they stand outside, you saw them in the movie, they curse us, they throw urine bags on the big horseman, for example. And it's unpleasant, and it's normal. And I am not in a position to judge anyone. I truly understand their anger, their frustration, and their unwillingness and incapability of understanding us, because when you are being brought up in the Israeli educational system, you should feel that way.
And how is it for you crossing to attend that ceremony, to coming into Israel, to be part of that for the Palestinians who have to fight just to be allowed in? What is that experience like?
It's not only to cross the border to join the joint ceremony, it's in general to cross the borders. And you are talking about peace and reconciliation and non-violence. You cannot imagine what will happen to you at the checkpoint itself. Sometimes you spend 2 hours, 3 hours, half an hour. Sometimes you cross in 1 minute, depends. So you need to already to expect atrocities before you arrive and talk about peace. You know, for us, we said we are very determined to raise up our voice, that we are sharing pain and we are sharing hope to those who want to follow us. For that, it's doubled itself every year. I think it was a normal place for me and my colleagues from the Palestinian side, with the Israeli side, to remember the victims of this conflict. And one day we will have the same ceremony officially, like the Second World War between the states who fought each other, and today they sign the same day together as victims of the war. It will happen also between the Palestinians and the Israelis.
What gives you hope? What makes you feel that interesting?
Well, don't talk about hope, I talk about faith. Because it's not written anywhere that we are going to kill each other forever. Not in the Bible, not in the Torah, and not in the Quran. I promise you about the Quran. And when we look back, we are not the first conflict on earth, unfortunately, and we are not the last one. If you look at the Americans, the Canadians, the Australians here, if you look at the Europeans, it's unbelievable. And always I said that the Palestinians didn't kill 6 million Israelis. And the Israelis didn't kill 6 million Palestinians yet. And there is a German ambassador in Tel Aviv, but there is an Israeli ambassador in Berlin. Imagine 3 years after 6 million victims, the best relationship between two states, Israel and Germany. It means we can also do it. We didn't arrive to this level of blood and hatred. Just we wait bravely that to take us towards the future and release us from the atrocities, that very painful past. Because we can talk about the Holocaust, as you know, another 75 years. We can talk about the Nakba, which continue another 75 years, but it's over. We need to look forward to save our kids and our families. The motivation, in fact, it's our daughters, both Abir and Smadar. I wrote in the grave of Abir, your killer will die, and you will live longer than him. Because we will tell your story everywhere around the world. Because killing kids is unjustified under any circumstances. Abir and Smadar, as I said, the only difference that Smadar is an Israeli and Abir is a Palestinian, unfortunately. So we will live in peace one day, very soon, I promise you. I hope in our lifetime. But we don't know how much blood we need to sacrifice from our kids to sign the same agreement.
What gives you hope?
He gives me hope. You give me hope. You all give me hope. You need to understand that this pain is there forever. 59 seconds out of every minute, it's there. It never let go. This is one wound that never heals. And it creates this energy that you, as a human being, have to interpret in a way that will be positive and not negative. Every morning you go out of your black hole after a long and sleepless night, and you make a decision every morning from the beginning. I will go this way and not the other way. And the fact is that this activity gave me a reason to get out of bed in the morning. The sight of the kids of today's morning, the kids, the intelligent questions, the big eyes, I look at them and I see Smadar. It gives you a lot of energy and power, and I'm very happy I chose this way and not the other.
So you talk all over the world and in Israel to groups of young people and older people, all sorts of people. Tell us about some of the people you've met, the conversations that you've had, where you felt you've been able to make a difference.
Mainly our activity is in Israel and in Palestine, and we go to high schools and we talk to the kids. And when we enter a classroom, high school classroom, in Israel and in Palestine, they are not as polite and receptive as you are. It's like walking into the open mouth of an active volcano. There is a sea of blood between these two nations. The air is shaking. Most of them have never, ever laid eyes on an Israeli or a Palestinian before that are not fighting each other. They are not putting their pain on the table, trying to compare whose pain is bigger, who started what, who's to blame. And this earthquake brings the crack in the wall that we are looking for. The crack in the wall is essential. Through this crack, a little light comes in, a little light can drive away a lot of darkness. The fact is that no one can listen to us and remain the same. And this is so powerful that it gives you the energy to go on and on and on, in spite the opposition, in spite the objections, in spite everything.
You know, for the students, especially the Israeli side, they don't believe that maybe I have a Jewish roots. They always ask me, how many Arabs or Muslims or Palestinians like you? And always I said, no one like me, of course. Because they don't know. In the Palestinian side, the kids, they don't believe Rami is a Jew. Because the Jewish for them is the soldiers. They face them every day in the checkpoints. So we are in a total cutoff. And when they discover the human face, of course, it's another story. We can feel the hatred and the fear just to enter to the class before we start talking. But after we start talking, we can hear the results on the spot from their reactions, which is amazing. You know, it's very, I don't know if they have a specific education for 17 years, and you don't expect to change this in half an hour or 1 hour. Sometimes it works. Sometimes they have their own narrative, and you cannot touch it. But I find all the time that even the kids is more liberal and open than their teachers. The teacher is more scared than the kids, especially the new generations. They are more open than us. They didn't have the ideology of hatred in advance before they meet each other. So if they have the opportunity to meet, they will discover that we are the same.
One of the groups you talk to are the Mechinah students, the Israeli pre-army groups. That seems to be a very important
thing you can do talking to these young people before they go in the army. Tell me what the sort of reactions you get from them and what kind of perspective you're able to bring to them.
The pre-army Mechinot is the elite of Israeli society. They are well educated. You have to be chosen in order to get inside. I know because my son, Igal, was a member of the Mechinat Sde. They are really elite, and they are being educated to join the army, to a meaningful service, it's called in Israel. And they are highly intelligent, very well educated, and very well informed. So when we meet them, we meet all the aspects of the Israeli society, the right wing, the left wing, and we need to face them and give them answers. And sometimes the questions are troubled. We are talking about kids that believe in what they're doing, that are full of enthusiasm and ideology. And they are not different from the other kids in the sense of the first time of meeting people like Bassam. So it becomes a dialogue, a meaningful dialogue, very powerful dialogue, for which that is very, very difficult, almost impossible, to face reality and truths which were never told for them. And as I said, no one can listen to us. I have so many examples of people who served in the army after the Mechinah who changed their behavior and their attitude after watching Bassam's humanity. And he himself, many, many times, soldier girls in a checkpoint told him, Alan, you were in my school, in my Mechinah, go away.
You know, I don't want to play on one side about the other side, but you need to justify your policy or diplomacy or existence to create a narrative. So this was one of my problems when I faced many kids. So one of them said, in the Quran, in your Quran, in page number 25, it's written that you must kill the Jews. So I said, my son, from now you will become my imam, because I never read it. And he believed in that. The Palestinian school textbook and the Arabs full of anti-Semitism. When I say to him, but we are Semitic. No, you don't know. It's like a sin-fating Jew. Maybe it works, but anti-Semitic with Arabs, it doesn't work, because we are against ourselves. You don't know that. You don't believe in that. So when I explained to him that there is nothing like this in the Quran, and if there is something like this inspired, I love Rami, but I will kill him. Because I believe in the Quran. And when you act in the name of God, there is no negotiations. That's it. It's a faith. So this is, sometimes I face this difficulties. And when they discover that, no, it's not exist. And many, even rabbis and outside, they challenge me about the Palestinian school books. It's not there. They are sure more than me. So that's it. I read about it. I never read about Palestinian school books, no, but I read about it. The other guy told me, because this is what we hear about each other, because sometimes when I face some Muslims, my Muslim brothers, it's the same. Where it's written that we need to fight them for God in the Quran. Where in the Quran? And maybe in the Sunnah, because there is not a Quran. What's that hadith exactly? I hear from the Imam. So at the end, there is not a kindness, because I believe the Prophet Muhammad says, I came to continue the message of my brothers. It's not to delete them, to continue. Yes, all the values in the Quran, in the Bible, the Torah, they are the same. This is what I believe. So for that, always we said it's not a religious conflict at all. And if it's religious, as you know, we are 1.5 billion Muslims. So we will eat all the Jews around the world. So it's not a religious conflict at all. And this is what we are trying to say. Jerusalem is a holy place, there are holy places, but it's not a religious conflict at all. So we can live there, we can exist there, we can enjoy the holy places, our worship. Everyone have his own way to arrive to his God, but it's not more important than our lives.
You come with an incredible moral authority because of your own experiences. People have to listen to you. They have to at least respect your experience, even if they don't respect your beliefs. Do you feel that that gives you an obligation to do the work you do?
Absolutely yes. I mean, this is the essence of what we are doing. There is enormous respect on both societies for people who pay the price. As part of the ongoing effort to win. In Israel, for example, Yom HaZikaron, the Memorial Day, is sacred. The flags are down halfway, they sing very sad songs in the radio. Everybody is hugging each other and weeping together. And in the evening, they fly the fireworks and they put the meat on the mangals. And this ritual is designed to justify what cannot be justified. And the feeling that we are holding the sword in our head, and the minute we let go, we are doomed. So the whole nation is mobilized to this end, and they put the bereaved families on a platter above the people in order, again, to justify what cannot be justified. So it's our moral obligation. I have the feeling that Smadar is standing behind my back, pushing me forward. That tell them, don't go to the cemeteries on Yom HaZikaron. Don't waste your time on hatred or on digging into the wounds that will never heal. Look forward. Look for the reasons. Look for the elephant in the middle of the room, which create the situation in which bereaved families are being produced.
Yes, they must listen to us simply because we listen to them. You know, when I start to talk, if you listen to the pain of the other, like the Rami says, then he will be ready to listen to you. We are not more clever than them. We were in their place. We try to give them our own experience, not to convince them, to say this is what we offer you and it's up to you. So then they listen to us, and of course, because we have this credibility, we say, to talk, people listen to us. Because we are not against anyone. So for that, it's very difficult someone to oppose us. We are pro-Palestinians and pro-Israelis. We are pro everyone to exist. And anyone want to fight, always I said to him, please, it's open. Go and practice your hobby. We don't want to fight, we don't want to kill each other.
We here in Australia live a very peaceful and privileged life. But the fact that all these people come to listen to you and your events had sold out events in every city we've taken you to, and you guys are indefatigable, the amount of work you do. But, you know, we all come because we all care. What can we do to support you? How can we help?
Well, you are really very lucky. You live in a very, very too far away place.
And cold.
And the atrocities of the world throughout history went bypass you. And it's a good thing. You are not traumatized. You don't carry 3,000 years of victimhood on your back.
Hey, we are Jewish.
Now, if you are Jewish and you carry 3,000 years of victimhood on your back, and you are born with it, and it's under your skin, and you cannot escape it, you have a problem. Not only that, we are the only people around the world who are allowed to be victims. No one else is allowed to be victim. We send our kids to Auschwitz when they are 16 years old, and they come back draped with the national flag and the slogan "Never Again." And the next year, this 18-year-old kid finds himself in a checkpoint, and he has to make a decision whether this old guy coming towards him is a time bomb or just a grandfather, which is inhuman. And it's a matter of decision. And I have decided that I will not use my victimhood in order to victimize others. And this is the essence of everything. You ask, what can we do? I think what can we do is what is the most important question of them all. What will be the message that we will take out of this evening? What will we sleeping on tonight, dreaming? What will be the action that we will take tomorrow morning? My late father was an Auschwitz graduate. 80 years ago, while they took my grandparents to the ovens back in Europe, the free and civilized world stood aside, never lifting one finger. Today, these two crazy nations of ours are massacring each other without any mercy. There is not one day without a dead or wounded. Well, this genocide is taking place in Syria, the atrocities in the Ukraine, in Yemen, wherever you look, the free and civilized world is still standing aside, doing nothing. And standing aside while a crime is being committed is also a crime. Now, we don't want people to import our conflict to your very well society. You have enough problems of your own as it is. We don't want people to be pro-Palestine, pro-Israel. This will not take us anywhere, and we don't need it. We demand of you to be pro-peace and to be against injustice anywhere, and against this ongoing situation in which one people is dominating another. This is the essence of our problem. It must be solved. It can be solved. We know what the answer is.
Yes, you are living in a peaceful place, but I believe under the ground there are a lot of pain in this country. And I found that ماضي دارين كشيء
In our
See, the hard,
that
see, and I said, or Sano.
what she said, I see that
Eternal.
to need to recognize the native nation right of self-determination is from the Jewish people. This is Judaism for me. And you need to follow this example towards the Palestinians. Please, how you can help us? Martin Luther King says, in the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. Don't keep silence, and don't take a side. You can be pro both of us. And how can you help us? Think of others. As you prepare your breakfast, think of others. Don't forget to feed the doves. As you conduct your wars, think of others. Those who only seek peace. As you go to pay your water bill, think of others. Of those who only have the clouds to drink from. As you go home, your own home, think of others. Don't forget the people of tents. As you speak freely with metaphors, think of others, of those who lost their right to speak. As you think of others, distant others, think of yourself. and wish you were a candle in the darkness. This is a song called Mahmoud Darwish, our national poet. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mark White. I'm principal of the King David School. I have bad news, which is that we have to draw this to a conclusion. We heard from Colum McCann, the wonderful author at the start of this CBN, and in his book about these two incredible men. The book is called Apeirogon. It's the waxy title, which refers to the mathematical concept of a shape with infinite sides and vertices. It can also look like a circle. McCann, in his title, suggests that we can look at conflict and the human toll that extends from it, and the endless cycles of violence and revenge, and we can come away with this feeling of infinite complexity and are thus overwhelmed by hopelessness. But what we've seen tonight is there is an alternative. We can be inspired by true heroes like Bassam and Rami, and can have the courage to see a circle. We can turn away from the complexity and the tit for tat, and instead embrace the other in dignity, respect and love. Last night, our school posted other Muslim and Christian schools as part of the Building Bridges program. Our students were able to explain the fundamentals of growing up as Jewish and straight today, and continue to forge genuine connections with those of different backgrounds. I thank the participants for helping to build the Australia that I want to live in. And that's one that's marked by celebration of difference, interest and curiosity in one another's lives, and a belief in our common humanity. And so tonight, I wish to extend this thanks to Bassam, to Rami, to Deborah, and the team at Melbourne Jewish Book Week and PLUS61J Media, and also my team at the King David School. Collectively, we're striving to turn towards love and build that world that we all wish to live in. I cannot quite fathom the extraordinary humanity of this gentleman. It's been such an honour to host him at our school today. As you have said, we cannot listen to you and not be challenged. And we learn enormously from your vulnerability, your determination, your big-heartedness and your passion. And I know that your words will challenge all of us for the better, so thank you.